Dear students, myself Madhumita Rai. I am an assistant professor of Computer Science and Engineering Department of Greater Kolkata College of Engineering and Management. This college is one of our educational initiative of JIS Group. This college is approved by AICTE and affiliated by Maulana Abul Kalam Azad University of Technology. Here I am teaching the subject Computer Networks. The subject code is PCC-CS602. This subject is for 6th semester Computer Science and Engineering students.
So today we will describe about process to process delivery. Okay, so this is the starting of network layer. This is the starting of transport layer. So here transport layer, all of you know that transport layer is after network layer. We need transport layer to transfer any data from sender to receiver. So here we have process to process delivery. In transport layer we need to communicate through the process. Okay, so the process of sender machine need to communicate with the process of destination machine. So here the transport layer is responsible for process to process delivery, and the delivery of a packet, that is the part of a message that it can be message can be passed from one process to another, and two processes communicate in a client server relationship. Okay, so there is a client server relationship is there in transport layer. So here we will discuss about client server parallelism and multiplexing and demultiplexing, connectionless versus connection oriented service, reliable versus unreliable, and there are different protocols. So at first transport layer is responsible for what? This layer is responsible for process to process delivery. Okay, so this is the figure. Here you can see that type of data delivers, that is here we have one process, and there in the destination we have different processes are there, and we need to communicate with this. So in data link layer we have node to node communications, in the network layer we have host to host communications, and in transport layer we have process to process communication. Okay, so remember it. Now we have so when we need to communicate via process to process, so then we need a port number. Okay, so the port number must be there. So see, this is the client and this is the server. So here this is the port number is 13. So the client is communicate with this port of the server. Okay, so this is the connection. So port number, that means we need a physical communications, and this port is actually responsible. This port is actually as an interface. Okay, without port number we can't communicate with the processes. So port number must be there. So this is the IP addresses versus port number. So here you can see that port numbers is select the process. So when we want to select any process of any host machine, so we need a port number, and IP address is for what? IP address is for to select the host. Okay, IP address is for select the host, and port number is select the process. Okay, so remember it. So port number is responsible to communicate via this process to process delivery. So in transport layer the port number is must. Okay, this is a mandatory number, you need this number. So now this we have a socket address here. So IP address is this, and this is the port number. The port number is 69, and the port address, or this is the socket address. Okay, so the socket address is there. As we have a port address and socket address, both should be there to communicate to communicate through the process. Now we have this multiplexing and demultiplexing thing. So here you can see the different processes are multiplexed, and we can get the IP address. So IP address for a host, and there are different processes. So when we are saying that IP address of this particular machine, that means there may be different processes are there, and that processes are multiplexed there. So from the IP address, when we generate the different processes, means IP address, and there is a demultiplexer, and demultiplex can generate different processes. So see, this is the error control. So here in transport layer also we can do the error control. So here this line, that is So error is checked here. We can see that error is checked in this paths by the data link layer. So error is controlled by this, data link layer is controlled this, and here this network layer and transport layer, error is not checked in this paths by the data link layer. So here this errors can be checked by the transport layer, and network transport layer can do that, and in data link layer we can also this this error corrections, we need error checking is there. So see, this is the LAN, and these different type of communications we can have. Okay, so different type of communications, that means different type of LAN can be there. It can be WAN, MAN, LAN, different type of LANs, WAN can be there, and they are connected with the router, and we can communicate via this. So these four layers, these are particularly very important layer, that is physical, data link, network and transport, and after that we have applications layer through which the user can communicate with the network. So applications is after that. So this is the whole picture how we can do the whole thing. So here this is the error control, the figure of error control. You can see that is the pink line, this is for data link. This error is checked in this paths by the data link layer. Okay, now this is the position of UDP, TCP and SCTP and TCP IP. So here we have the transport layer. So after network layer, the next upper layer is the transport layer, or we have different types of protocol. So TCP and UDP, mainly we need to study this TCP, transmission control protocol, and user datagram protocol. Okay, so user datagram protocol, UDP. So what is this? This user datagram protocol, this is called connectionless. Okay, so UDP is a connectionless unreliable transport protocol. So this term is very important. This is connectionless, and so you can have the difference between TCP and UDP. So TCP is actually connection oriented, but UDP, user datagram protocol, this is a connectionless. Okay, so here we have unreliable transport. This is a unreliable transport protocol. So why it is unreliable? Unreliable means we can't the sender when sending any data, so sender cannot get any acknowledgement for the other end, as because this is connectionless. So there is no procedure to know that whether the packet is actually received by the receiver properly or not. Okay, so this is that's why this is unreliable. Okay, so UDP is unreliable. So it does not add anything to the services of IP except to provide process-to-process communications instead of host-to-host communications. So in UDP we have also it add with the IP internet protocol, it can provide the services of process-to-process delivery. Okay, so here this is the different well-known ports used with UDP. So we have different port number, that is 7, this is for echo, that is echoes received datagram back to the sender, and 9, if port number 9 is responsible for that to discard any datagram that is received. Port number 11, this is for users, this is for active users, and 13, this is for date and time. Okay, so this is daytime. This protocol is, this port number is responsible to return the date and time, and quote returns the quote of the day. So this type of different things are there. So see, we have the port number 67, 68. So this is the booting protocols, that is the server port to download bootstrap information, and this is the client bootstrap information. So client port to download the bootstrap information. Okay, so these are the different types of port. So now this is the format of user datagram format. So here you can see this is the header and this is the data part. So header part, in header part we have a source port number, destination port number. Okay, so these numbers are 16 bits, and there is total length should be there, and destination and the checksum. For any error corrections we need the checksum. Okay, so source port number, destination port number, total length and checksum. So these are all present inside the header. So user datagram consists this header and data. So here you can see the user datagram protocol length is IP length minus IP headers length. Okay, so IP, the total IP address, the length of the IP length, this is 32 bit, and the header length is 16 bit, that 8 bits. So we have 32 minus 8, that is 24 bits, the UDP length. Okay, datagram length. So this is the pseudo holder for checksum calculations. Here you can see this is our header, and here we have pseudo header, that is we have 32-bit source IP address, 32-bit destination IP address, and here it can be all zeros, and there are 8-bit protocols or 16-bit UDP length. Okay, so these headers can be there. That is the pseudo header for checksum calculations, for error calculation. Okay, so here you can have, see, this is the padding must be added to make the data a multiple of 16 bits. So if a data is a 16 bits length, so if we have multiple data, so there must be a padding between this data slot. Okay, so padding must be added to make the data a multiple of 16 bits. So now we have TCP. TCP is a connection oriented protocol. So transmission control protocol, this is a connection oriented protocol. It creates a virtual connection between two TCPs to send data. Okay, so here TCP uses flow and error control mechanism at the transport layer. So here also we have a error control and flow control mechanism. So here these are the different well-known ports used by TCP, and this is the description. So this is important, that is 20, port number 20, this is for file transfer protocol, that is file transfer protocol data connections. At 21, this is FTP control, that is file transfer protocol control connection. Okay, and telnet, for telnet, that is terminal network, this is for port number 23, we need this. For simple mail transfer protocol, we have the port number 25. So this port number is very important. And domain name space, DNS, for DNS we need the port number 53. Okay, so this is for domain name server. So this is the stream delivery, where we have a sending process and receiving process. So sending process, that means the connections is TCP. There are in these both processes have the transmission control protocol, and they can send the data. So stream of bytes can be sent from one process to another. Okay, so this is the sending and receiving buffer. So here sending process, so the byte to byte data can be sent. Okay, and data can be stored here also. So and this is the TCP segment. So here we can have different segmentations, that means the whole data can be segmented here. And see, this is the different segmentation. Suppose we have segment 1 to n, so segment 1 and segment 2, so this segments can be sent one by one. Okay, so the bytes of data being transferred in each connections are numbered by TCP. The numbering starts with a randomly generated number. So we can have different segments, and the segments can sense from one process to another, and the sequentially you can send the data. Okay, so these are the following shows the sequence number for each segment. So suppose this, if the sequence number is this, and for segment 1 we have the sequence number from this to this, and for segment 2 we need to start from the next, that is 11,001 to 12,000. In this way we can provide the segment number. So whole data can be segmented in this way. TCP is a connection oriented protocol. Okay, and we create the virtual connections between two devices, and here we have different control mechanism. So here you can see these are the different port numbers, and these are the protocols, and these are the descriptions. So these are the important port number, that is port number 20, 21, 23, SMTP, 25. So these are the important port numbers. So here you can see that port number 20 for 20. This is for, oh acha আমি তো প্রিন্ট স্কেয়ারই করলাম না আরেকবার. Okay, so these are the important port numbers. So port number 20, this is for file transfer protocol, and 21, this is for FTP control, that is file transfer protocol for control connection, and port number 23, this is for protocol telnet, this is for terminal network. So these are the some port numbers. What is important, that is SMTP, that is simple mail transfer protocol. This is used the port number 25. Okay, for booting purpose, bootstrap protocol, the port number is 67. And another thing, that when we are actually communicating with the internet, so we need the hypertext transfer protocol, so the port number is 80. Okay, so remember it, port number 80 is responsible for that. So this is the stream delivery. So here you can see the sending process and this is the receiving process. So we can send the data. So this is a stream of bytes. The data can be sent byte by byte. Data can send from one process to another. So this is the sending and receiving buffer. So here you can see the sending process, and this is our TCP. So see, this is the buffer. So here you have to write down the data in a byte to byte. And so see, this is the colored ash color. This is the data is already sent, and this is not sent. And when this data is sent to this receiver, then some data. So these data are received, and this is next byte to read. So these are the bytes what we need to read. This is so that means when the data when the bytes are sent to the receiver end, so that must be stored inside a buffer, and if the process is busy to do some different thing, then that data need to wait inside the buffer. Okay, so this is the sending and receiving buffer is responsible to store the data for some time, okay, before processing actually. So this is the TCP segment. So in TCP transmission control protocol, we need to divide the whole data into different segments. So these are the different segments, and this data can be sent here, and here also you can see the same thing, and only thing is the whole data can be divided into different segments. Okay, and there must be the sequence number, otherwise the segment can be lost. We can sequentially send the segments one by one if we have a sequence number. Okay, so sequence number also very important here. So the byte of data being transferred in each connection are numbered by TCP, and the numbering starts with a randomly generated number. Okay, so we can have some random numbers, and the bytes of data being transferred in each connections, which is numbered by TCP. So when the data is passing through this connection, so that data must be numbered by the TCP. The protocol can be numbered them, and it can be some random number. Okay, so suppose this is the sequence number for segment 1, segment 2. These we have 5 segments, and see, these are the sequence number. Suppose for 10,001, so the range is 10,001 to 11,000. This is for segment 1, and in the next segment we need to start from the next sequence number, that is 11,001 to 12,000. Okay, so in this way so this number is random number. This is given by TCP, and you have to maintain the sequence. So the value of the sequence number field of a segment defines the number of the first data byte contained in the segment. So sequence number field contained the first byte, that is 10,001. So it contained 10,001. This is the sequence number, and the range is 11,000. So the next number is 11,001. So the sequence number indicates the first byte of the segment. Okay. So the value of the acknowledgement field in the segment defines the number of the next byte party expects to receive, and the acknowledgement number is cumulative. So acknowledgement number, what it can receive, that can be some cumulative number. So see, this is the TCP segment format. Here you have a header and data part. In header part we have a source port address, destination port address, sequence number, acknowledgement number can be there, because this is a connection oriented. TCP is a connection oriented protocol, so we can have a acknowledgement number here. Okay, so this is a acknowledgement number, also 32 bits, and here is a header length and reserved bits. Some bits are reserved for future purpose, and here we have some control field. Okay, these are the control field, and here we need to write down the window size, and this checksum is for error corrections and detections, and these are some urgent pointer. So, and there are some optional field can be there, and padding field. Okay, if you want to add some data with your data, so that is the padding. So that field is this. This is the options. There are any different optional fields can be there, or padding can be there. So these are the control field what you can see here. So URG, this is the urgent pointer valid URG. Acknowledgement, this is the acknowledgement SEK, acknowledgement is valid here. PSA, this is request to push reset the connection, synchronize the sequence number, and terminate the connection. So here one thing you have to remember, the TCP, transmission control protocol, is a connection oriented. That means you have to establish the connection before transmitting any data. Okay, so the connection establishment must be there. So these are the descriptions. So we have the URG, that is the value of urgent pointer field is valid. These are the flag value. ACK, the value of the acknowledgement field is valid. ACK should be there. Push the data, reset the connection, synchronize the sequence number during connection, and terminate the connection. So this is the figure where we need to establish the connection. So connection establishment using three-way handshaking. Okay, so here you can see that we have a client and server. So client is actually passing the data, and see here we have a sequence number. Suppose the sequence number is 8000. Okay, and we have the acknowledgement field and synchronize field. Okay, so A and S, these values can be there. So you can be send this data. Okay, and if server so it's provide the data through this communication line, and again it can pass the scene and acknowledgement both. So at first here we have passing the synchronizing field, synchronization sequence number during connection. So we are passing the sequence number. Then if the acknowledgement is passed to the client, that means the data, that means the communication you can establish through the server. Okay, then it can pass the data. So this is the sequence number and acknowledgement number can be sent. So these are some arbitrary numbers. So sequence number is 8000 and it can send some random number, cumulative number, the acknowledgement number it can send. So here it is sending the, so see this server is sending the sequence number 15,000 and it is sending 8000. Okay, so sequence number 8000 it is sending, and server is sending the sequence number 15,000. That means whatever the informations, the signal, whatever the information the server is sending, that is the sequence number of that data. So that is 15,000, and when client is sending the acknowledgement, so it can send the acknowledgement number 15,001. Okay, that means that value is actually received, and you can send the data, next data. So that is acknowledgement is 15,001. So this is for connection establishment. That means when a client wants to communicate with the server, so at first it can send the value, the flag value sync and the sequence number. Okay, and if the server is sending the acknowledgement number, it can be sent by the server. That means the connection, that means okay, you can send the data. Okay, so this is a virtual communication, virtual connections is established. Okay, so now the client is also sending the acknowledgement. Similarly, so the sync segment cannot carry data, but it consumes one sequence number. Okay, so here we don't have any data, it is actually sequence number is carrying. Okay, the data is not. After communication, when the communication is established, then the data can send. So now sync plus ACK segment cannot carry data but does consume one sequence number. This is also consume one sequence number. Okay. Okay, so these are not the actual data. So this is only for communication purpose. Only the establish the communication. Okay. So now we have an ACK segment. If it also carrying no data, consumes no sequence number also. So this is actually consuming the sequence number of the next data. Okay, so see ACK is 15,001 and here also ACK is 8,001. That is the next data to be accepted. So now after communication, establishment of the communication, then data can be transferred. Okay, so data can be transferred in this way. So here you can send the data with the whole thing, whole package. You can extra add the data field. So data field is added here. Okay, and you can send different data here, that is 8001 to 9000 and 9001 to 10,000. So different this sequence of data you can send, and the server can send the acknowledgement. Okay, so this is the data transfer field, and after the whole data transmission is over, then we should terminate the communication. So that is the connection termination, that is the handshaking. Okay, so here you are sending that the sequence number and ACK, that is already the acknowledgement is actually all the acknowledgement is actually received. So here you have to send this FIN, this field. Okay, so you have to send this number, that is now we want to terminate the communications, so it is indicates by this flag field FIN. Okay, so I want to communicate, I want to cancel out, I want to terminate the communication. This message should be sent by the client, and if the server send the response, that means the acknowledgement, then the connections should will be properly terminated. Okay, so this is the handshaking technique, overall technique what a TCP can be used to for connection oriented service. Okay, so this FIN segment, the FIN segment consumes one sequence number if it does not carry data. Okay, so it is also carrying some sequence number, the FIN segment. Okay, so this segment, this FIN plus ACK segment also consume one sequence number and it does not carry the data. Okay, so this is the thing, and so this is the full termination of the whole thing, whole communication. So there can be the half close, that is the data, that means the client can send the value, that is the whole thing, that is the FIN statement it can send, and here also acknowledgement, and here you can see data segment from server to client and acknowledgement from client to server. So here you can see that if we can the server, suppose server server is sending this value only FIN. Okay, so acknowledgement is here, and again, so this is a passive close, only FIN can be sent by the server. Okay, not ACK. So if ACK is not actually sent by the server, that is passive close. Okay, so this is active close. See, this is sending and then acknowledgement is passing to the server. So this is active close, and if the only FIN statement is passing, then this is a passive close. Okay, so no acknowledgement is passing here. So this is the half close. Okay, so in this way we can, the TCP can be communicate with each other. Okay, and this is the sliding window concept. That means the sliding window concept, that means what data is actually we are sending, and what is when after sending, the window must be slide to the next data. Okay, so the sliding window is used to make a transmission more efficient as well as control the flow of data, so that the destination does not become overwhelmed with the data. Okay, so this is the previous concept also, sliding window concept. That means in the window we need to store all those data, and the window size should be there should be some predefined window size, and whatever the data inside the window, that data must be transmitted at first, and it should be received by the receiver, and acknowledgement should be provided by the receiver, and after that the window should be slide to the next data, and next data can be sent. Okay, so this is actually used for flow control purpose. Okay. So here are some mathematical example. So see, we have a sliding window. So here we have some data, that is you can see, that is we have n to m. Okay, so data is from a sliding window, data are n to m. Okay, and here you can see that sliding window is okay. So see, what is the value of the receiver window for host A if the receiver host B has a buffer size of 5000 bytes and 1000 bytes of received and unprocessed data. So the receiver window for host A, okay, if the receiver and the host B has a buffer size of 5000, so 5000 bytes, and there is 1000 bytes of received and unprocessed data. So the value of receiver window, that is 5000 minus 1000. So 5000 is the whole buffer size and the 1000 bytes is received. So receiver window should be what? That is 5000 minus 1000 equal to 4000. That means host B can receive only 4000 bytes of data before overflowing its buffer. Okay, so this is very easy because buffer size is given and how many bytes is received, that is given. So you can obviously calculate the value of receiver window. That means receiver window can also get this 4000 bytes. Okay, it can store the 4000 bytes can store inside the this buffer of host B. So what is the size of window for host A if the value of receiver window is 3000 bytes and the value of client window is 3500 bytes? Okay, so calculate it. What is the size of the window for host A? Okay, so we have to calculate the size of window for host A if the value of receiver window is 3000 byte, okay, and value of client is 3500 bytes. So size of the window is smaller of receiver window and client window, which is 3000 byte. Yes, so this is 3000 byte, the value is 3000 byte and the value of client window is this. So what is the size of the window for host A? Okay, so how we can calculate it? This is the client window size and this is the 3000 byte. This is for what? This is for host, this value is actually for host A. The size of the window for host A you have to calculate, and if the value of receiver window is A means what? A means this one for host A. The receiver host B. A is the sender and B is the receiver. Okay. So here the size of the window is the smaller of receiver window, RW window and CW client window, which is 3000 byte. So here you have to take only 3000 byte. The value can be 3000 byte because we can store 3000 byte only. Okay, inside this buffer of host A. Okay, we need to take the smaller value. This value we can store only here. Okay, because 3500 byte, if I want to store, it will be overwhelmed. So we need to take only the smaller value. So these are the some examples of sliding window. So some points about TCP sliding window. Here we can see the size of the window is the lesser of receiver window and client window. The source does not have to send the full windows worth of data, and the window can be opened or closed by the receiver but should not be shrunk. The destination, it can be closed or open, but you cannot shrink actually. It means you cannot reduce the size of the window. The destination can send an acknowledgement at any time as long as it does not result in a shrinking window, and the receiver can temporarily shut down the window. Okay. The sender, however, can always send a segment of 1 byte after the window is shut down. So this is some points about TCP sliding window. And ACK segments that are just not consuming any sequence number and are not acknowledged. ACK segments do not consume sequence number and are not acknowledged. So this is there are some send not acknowledgement. Okay, so there should be some acknowledgement field. So acknowledgement segments here, it do not consume the sequence number actually. Okay, and are not acknowledgement. That means this segment is actually when the acknowledgement is done, that means the data is received. So it can be do not consume any sequence number. Here in a specific case, in case of sliding window, if we produce some acknowledgement, see the destination can send an acknowledgement if any time as long as it does not result in a shrinking window, and the receiver can temporarily shut down the window, and the sender, however, can always send a segment 1 byte after the window is shut down. So you can the receiver can temporarily shut down the window, and the sender can send the data, but temporarily receiver can stop to receive any data because of the overwhelming of the data. So for flow control purpose they can do that, and then that time acknowledgement segments cannot consuming any means data. Okay, when the receiver is not getting any data or not receiving any data, so acknowledgement field can be blank. It is not acknowledged. It cannot be sent the acknowledgement. So in modern implementations, retransmissions occurs if the retransmission timer expires or three duplicate acknowledgement segments have arrived. So here also you have the error control mechanism. That means the data is, if the data is not properly received by the receiver, so you can wait for when the timer is expired and acknowledgement is not received, then you can resend the data. Okay, the same process, because this is a connections oriented, so you can send the data. Okay, if the data is properly acknowledged, data is received, so no retransmission timer should be set. Okay, if the data is properly received by the sender, means receiver, then acknowledgement should be sent by the receiver, then you need not start the timer again. So data may arrive out of order and be temporarily stored by the receiving TCP, but TCP guarantees that no out of order segment is delivered to the process. So data can be sent in a orderly manner, because there are different segments, so the order should be maintained. Okay, so TCP must be guarantee about that, so that no out of order segment can be delivered to the process. Okay, so this is the normal operation. So here the sequence number and acknowledgement, these values is sent, and here the server, that means from 12,001 to 1,000 means 1,201 to 1,400, the sequence number is sent, the sequence of data is sent, and acknowledgement the first, and this is the ACK 4001. This is the these values is also sent, and here the acknowledgement is also received. That means at first the connection should be established, so that's why this is going on. So this sequence number and acknowledgement also sent by the server also, and after that it can get the acknowledgement of so after this time period 500 milliseconds, so it can send the acknowledgement SK 5001 to the server, and server also send the acknowledgement of 1401. Okay, because you are sending the sequence number 1201 to 1400, so when this acknowledgement is sending by the server, that means the sequence number from 1201 to 1400 is received, and it wants to access the next sequence number, that is 1401. Okay, so in this way the whole operation can be going on. And if there is any loss of segment, any data is lost, then what will happen? The timer, you have to wait for timer time out, and then you have to just start your timer again, and you have to do the whole process again. Okay, so if the data is lost, then only you can just timer, you should on your timer again, and you have to retransmit the data again. So the receiver TCP delivers only ordered data to the process. So that means the data must be sent to the orderly manner. Okay. So this is the retransmission process. So when there is any loss of data, so you need to retransmit the data again. Okay, so this is the same process as you just read before. Only here you have to send the sequence number as well as the acknowledgement number, and if the acknowledgement number, if it is received, then it can send the ACK 301, that means the sequence number of 201 to 3000 is or 300 is already received. So ACK 301 means receiver wants to access next data. Okay, that means the previous data is already received by the receiver. Okay, so this is the whole thing about TCP. So in TCP you have to remember the connection, how we can build the connections, and what is the normal operations, how we can do the connection establishment at first should be there, and then the data must be transferred, and when the data transmission is over, then you have to just terminate your connection. Okay, so that's it.